Hello everyone, welcome back to NPC Dungeon. Today's story picks right back up where we left off last time with our friends Inky, Subject 66, and Alice. Seraphina encountered someone who apparently recognized her, but was forced into battle while the rest of the party traversed a strange hallway and entered a factory where Knowles manufactured alchemical agents under the control of a mind flayer colony. The party reasoned through a puzzle to determine the correct combination of reagents that would open up a portal to the item they were sent to find, apparently called the Stone of Mortaz, and jumped through. And that is where we begin. By the way, if you want to hear the full story thus far, feel free to check out my playlist for it. I'll have a link below and a card above as always. But let's go ahead and start the story. So what happened? Well, my players jumped through and landed in a room that seemed to be composed entirely of a fleshy, fungal substance, neither plant nor animal, and certainly no longer a cave. The first things they noticed about this room were the pods lined up against the walls. Various individuals were lined up and locked inside, seemingly in various stages of mind flayer transformation, some already bearing tentacles with purplish skin. In one such pod was a familiar chain devil, one Zinzanok the Defiant, with the two remaining flying goatmen locked up in pods on either side. And the second thing they noticed was Seraphina huddled up at the corner and unconscious with what appeared to be some kind of strange necklace that she wasn't wearing before. They shook her awake, but before they asked her about it, they thought it wise to deal with the Zinzanok in the room. So they cracked open the pod and threw him on the ground as an interrogation scene ensued. And honestly, with a large dinosaur bee, a ticked-off mushroom, a 9-foot tall angel in full plate armor, and a hooded, dark cloak-wearing, dagger-wielding rogue, intimidating him wasn't all that hard, but he really didn't know much. He confessed the Stone of Mortaz was an item in which a powerful but lesser-known god of death was locked away. It was rumored that it was found many times before and has been sought out many times after, but has since been sealed away by a powerful wizard. He also knew that the cave that they were in, once apparently very long ago, served as a cemetery and religious sanctuary for some religion, but he wasn't sure which one. But at this point, Inky had stopped listening. Powerful wizard, did you say? She uttered. Do you know who? Zinzanok sputtered his reply. No, he honestly didn't. Then you're of no use to us. And to be honest, they each probably said this to him at least one point in time or another during this scene. She nodded to Seraphina, who gained her bearings surprisingly well, reared her arms back, and went to strike, but once again her sword simply passed through him as his image vanished, and Zinzanok's laughter echoed down the halls, and they never saw him again. They didn't know the way out, and they really doubted that Zinzanok did. So they did the only thing they could have done and trudged ahead, traversing what turned out to be an absolute maze of hallways and corridors. If there's ever a time to catch up with Seraphina, it was now. So, said Inky, glancing over at her, could you tell us why you left like that? Yeah, said Alice. What's that weird necklace? Seraphina looked down at it and had to admit that she didn't know. A sharp pain split into her head, but she was able to fight it off. The angel, she said, is a murderer. No footprints, blunt trauma. Did you see that mace she was holding? She had admitted to it. She realized this angel was the one who'd killed the girl whose murder Seraphina was investigating at the beginning. While they were fighting, Seraphina seemed to remember her saying something about how the girl had to be stopped, but she didn't know why. But do you know who she is? Inky insisted, because she sure seems to recognize you. But Seraphina didn't remember much of her old life. All she remembered was a battle, and the next thing she knew, she was blasted into the material plane. And while the others were talking, Subject 66 was getting kind of bored. He saw the shiny thing on Seraphina's neck and wanted to see what would happen if he took it. And despite all the buzzing, he was quite stealthy, so he reached over, grabbed it, and yanked it away. A familiar headache tore through her head as Seraphina doubled over. Memories of a battle flashed through her mind, the armies of Mortaz, she fought against them, and the angel she fought alongside her. At the mention of Mortaz, Inky looked over at Alice. So Alice, why does the big scary demon guy seem familiar to you? I saw that look you gave when the mind flayers mentioned him. And Alice was oddly forthcoming. She explained that after running from her village as a child, she was visited by an image of Mortaz and became his champion. Afterwards, she sought vengeance on the village that cast her out. The girl was one of the survivors. The rest of the party took a collective step back from Alice as a gentle, singing voice echoed through the corridors. A ghostly image, the image of a young woman with blonde hair, appeared before them. Seraphina was able to talk her down as she demanded a proper burial. Alice nodded gravely, feeling the pangs of guilt for the first time in her life, but none of them knew why the angel had killed her. She was one of the survivors. Then Seraphina and Inky looked at each other. The stone she was looking for. The stone. She was looking for it. The angel said she had to be stopped. She was seeking revenge. You will atone, was all Seraphina could say as they walked into another large corridor. Several coffins were placed against the wall with a locked door at the back. Pillars rose into a ceiling of indeterminate height as they began to investigate. The tombs began to shake as zombies rose out from the insides. The players attacked, but to no avail. That was until they looked up. 4 massive spiders with gray eyes and shriveled up bodies like ancient elves attached slashed at the thorax, sat from high above, puppeteering zombies. They spat venom at the players from a distance too high to be attacked by conventional means. Alice conjured up purple blades of arcane energy and hurled them at the beast, missing one after another, as Subject 66 took his usual slow, strategic approach and turned invisible before appearing behind one and stabbing it in the back. It fell to the ground as Seraphina finished it off. Inky launched magic missiles and eldritch blasts at one as it propelled a sheet of webs at her and Alice, lining them up. Subject 66 knocked a second one off the pillars and onto the ground as Inky and Alice struggled in the webs. Two of these creatures crawled up with them and attacked. Seraphina rushed over to them and released a whirlwind of fire, blasting the two spiders back and giving Inky and Alice just enough time to escape. Seraphina slashed as Alice and Inky teleported around the field, hurling spells and daggers at the monsters. Subject 66 grabbed one last one, flew into the air, and dropped it down onto the ground. They avoided a large, ominous-looking tomb in the center of the room and went to the back to open the door and ride what appeared to be a rickety, caged elevator up. And that's where I'm ending this one. It went on a little longer than I expected, actually. I hope it was still interesting. Check out this week's other video where I talk a little bit about how I run short campaigns like this one, and come back next week where I'll tell you all about where the elevator led and talk about how I plan for a session. Thanks for watching. Until next time, let's learn something.